Okay, so this video is about the watering. Garden gets dry in summer, needs watering. So suffice to say, if there's been a lot of rain, don't need to water. This is what we do. So round to the back of the house, past the pool stuff, for which there is a separate video. Now this shed door is the worst. It will get replaced, but for the moment it is the worst, which means that opening it is not super impressive. So just inside the shed door is this power outlet. This orange cable is the bore. So just plug that in and away it goes. So that bore is on. So we never switch that switch off because that other lead is for the fridge that's in the shed. So in and out basically. So I'll talk you through the watering areas. So you can probably hear it. Obviously it's drenched with sunshine at the moment. So I wouldn't normally be watering until after the sun's gone down, but it's just easy to show stuff with a good light. So let's call this one the lawn station. So there's two outlets on this one, which are formed by a Y. And basically, when they're both crossways, they're both shut. And when they're both in line, they're both on. So what we do is we put one on at a time. So that one's in line at the moment, the one on the right, and this one follows up to the back of the yard. It waters those beds. There's nothing in those beds at the moment. They actually don't need to be watered. But the reason why we have this one on is that it is feeding these shrubs here. So they're olives, that one's apple. And I really should know what that is, but I don't recall. But you can see it's doing its thing as we speak. They're reasonably mulched, so a bit of watering should go a long way because of the mulch. And I would normally run that one for about 15 minutes, maybe longer if it's been like super hot. And then once that's done, I'd flip them over. So I've shut that one and I've opened that one, and then the other half kicks in. So you can see there's one there for the lawn. My legs are now getting wet. I'll just come up here. You can go through that gap there if you want, but I've just jumped up the side wall. And so the other part of this one feeds this beautiful pomegranate tree. So you can hear it. There's the mulch and the spray is starting to appear, so you know it's all working well. So that's station number one. Station number two has this area of the water of the garden covered, and it's fed by this tap. So that tap is on permanently, but of course when the bore water's not running, it's not flowing because it comes from the bore. But what it feeds, so you can check it's working, is go down the steps near the pool. I think there's 4 outlets, I can't quite remember. So through this lovely overgrown shrubbery. Whoa, getting wet. So there's one through those trees there, bushes. Then around the other side. Yep, still getting wet, working normally. We've got a second one there. Past the fish pond, separate video for that. Through to a third spinner there and a fourth there. So they're all running. Now, sometimes they don't run very much, and I've never quite worked out why that is, but I'm going to show you what has always worked for me when that middle one has been a bit off. So I'm just going to position this camera where I can go hands-free. Just bear with me. Just check the sight line. Yep. Okay. Down on my hands and knees. Hello. So there's 2 things I do. One is I turn the tap off, and I do wonder sometimes whether air gets into the system. And maybe just turning it off and turning it back on would do it. But the other thing I do is that there is a filter here which filters out the minerals from the water. So this is easy to detach. Just hold this with one end and twist it. thusly, and that catches debris. And when it's really bad, a lot of brown sediments will come out because of the nature of the bore water. So just give it a tap just to make sure it's clear. Just slides back, it only goes in one way. And then the thing that I was holding before, now twisting back just like you would with anything with a thread. Just twisting it around, just holding the filter and twisting this nut, and we're on. And usually that does it. So I put a tap back on, and we're set. Now if that doesn't work, don't worry about it. It's a fairly hardy garden around that part, so it's reasonably drought tolerant. But anyway, that's that gig. I can hear it running now, so let's grab you and we'll go to the third watering station. Okay, off we go. So this third one is around the front. So through the gate, shutting it behind if the dogs are here, because the dogs don't go out by themselves willfully, but you never know. So round, 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 front of the house, past our trashikin, and here we are. So this is the setup. There's two channels of water that get watered in the front yard. We've got a multi-channel distributor, which is our challenge, and I'll explain that in a tick. But first of all, this is the gig. So this tap controls this area of watering from the bore, so I'm going to it's a 90-degree turn straight towards the yard. I can hear it flowing, and this is the first area that gets done, which is these shrubs and fruit trees in this area. So you see that's kicked in nicely. Again, sort of 15 minutes would do it. And then after 15 minutes, what you do is you turn that water supply off again, so 15 minutes later. Now that distributor cap, the way these things are designed, is that should now swivel around to the next station. So we watch with bated breath while I get eaten by mosquitoes. You can see it's starting to drop there. It's thinking about it. And we give a bit of encouragement because I haven't got time to more of you. So just basically it'll drop down to that next position, which means, so now that I can see, because you can see the arrow, it's now pointing towards the next channel. So it's by the way, it's bypassed this one because this one is actually what the water that goes in. So that was the previous one that was on for the watering you just saw, and now it's gone to the next one. So now turn the tap back on and we kick off. And that waters these beds along here. You can hear them running. It waters this front area here next to that lovely rose. You can just see it in there. And finally that one for that bed. So again, reasonably drought tolerant. Now here's the thing, once you're done, so 15 minutes later you want to turn the whole thing off, of course. But this distributor cap needs to be reset. Distributor, not just the cap, the whole thing. So I'm turning that off. And I'm going to position this camera so that I can just show you what you need to do. Here's a stand I prepared earlier. Okay, good. So what you do is you just basically manually, let's get out the way so you can see it. You manually move it around because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 other outlets. So if we had 4 of the things we need to the water, we could use them, but I don't. So what you do is you hold the main unit with one hand and just lift the other one, use your other hand to lift the pink disc in the middle, and it turns around one. Do it again. You might have to give it a bit of encouragement. It's not too hard, but it just needs a bit of a grip. Round again, and 4, and we're all set for the next time. And that's it. So that's the front area covered. So taking it back around. So imagine it's now half an hour later. I've had those 2 bursts of 50 minutes around the front. Here's Maxie, come to say hello. Hello Maxie. And back. So that's still watering. So that side one, the one that's powered from this tree, will have had a good 30 minutes, which is probably right because those spinners aren't super effective and there's a lot more of them. So it'll take a while to you know, get a bit of watering going. And then we've got this one, which is still running for 15 minutes. And so the easiest thing then to do is just come back into the shed and just pull that plug out and it switches off. And we're all set. So again, you know, next time you put it on, then you just basically do the same things before. Only this time, of course, it'd be the pomegranate that gets watered first because that's where it's left as it's closed, as it's finished. And then you flip it for the apple tree and the olive trees and so on. So that's the gig. Hope that's straightforward. And we're very grateful for you helping to keep our garden lubricated.